Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Chapter 47 and 48. Chapter 47 is a little bit long, but hey, I want to get to the next chapter. So chapter 48 is not a long one. We'll have a little bit of fun with that, I'm sure. But without any further ado, let's get into Genesis chapter 47. Then Joseph came and reported to Pharaoh, saying, My father and my brothers, with their flocks and herds and all that is theirs, have come from the land of Canaan, and now are in the region of Goshen. And selecting a few of his brothers, he presented them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to his brothers, What is your occupation? They answered to Pharaoh, We servants are shepherds, as were our fathers. We have come, so they told the Pharaoh, to sojourn in your land, for there is no pasture for your servants' flocks, the famine being severe in the land of Canaan. Pray then, let your servants stay in the region of Goshen. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, As regards your father and your brothers who have come to you, the land of Egypt is open before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best part of the land. Let them stay in the region of Goshen, and if you know any capable men among them, put them in charge of my livestock. Joseph then brought his father Jacob and presented him to Pharaoh. And Jacob greeted Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked Jacob, How many are the years of your life? And Jacob answered Pharaoh, The years of my sojourn on earth are 120. Few and hard have been the years of my life, nor do they come up to the lifespan of my fathers during their sojourns. Then Jacob bade Pharaoh farewell and left Pharaoh's presence. So Jacob settled his father and his brothers, giving them holdings in the choicest part of the land of Egypt, in the region of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Joseph sustained his father and his brothers, and all father's household with bread, down to the little ones. Now there was no bread in all the world, for the famine was very severe. Both the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished because of the famine. Joseph gathered in all the money that was to be found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan as payment for the rations that were being procured. And Joseph brought the money into the Pharaoh's palace. And when the money gave out in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, Give us bread, lest we die before your very eyes, for the money is gone. And Joseph said, Bring your livestock, and I will sell to you against your livestock, if the money is gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for the horses, for the stocks of sheep and cattle, and the asses. Thus he provided them with bread that year in exchange for their livestock. And when that year had ended, they came to him the next year and said to him, We cannot hide from my lord that with all the money and the animal stocks consigned to my lord, nothing is left at my lord's disposal save our persons and our farmland. Let us not perish before your eyes, both we and our land. Take us and our land in exchange for bread, and we with our land will be serfs to Pharaoh. Provide the seed that we may live and not die, and that the land may not become a waste. So Joseph gained a possession of all the farmland of Egypt for Pharaoh, every Egyptian having sold his field because the famine was too much for them. Thus the land passed over to Pharaoh, and he removed the population town by town, from one end of Pharaoh's border to the other. Only the land of the priests he did not take over, for the priests had an allotment for Pharaoh, and they lived off the allotment that Pharaoh had made to them. Therefore they did not sell their land. Then Joseph said, Whereas I have this day acquired you and your land for Pharaoh, here is seed for you to sow the land. When the harvest comes, you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh, and 4/5 shall be yours as seed for the fields, and food for you and those in your household, and as nourishment for your children. And they said, You have saved our lives. We are grateful to my lord, and we will be serfs to Pharaoh. And Joseph made it into a land law in Egypt, which is still valid, that 1/5 shall be Pharaoh's. Only the land of the priests did not become Pharaoh's. Thus Israel settled in the country of Egypt, in the region of Goshen. They acquired holdings in it and were fertile and increased greatly. Jacob lived 17 years in the land of Egypt, so that when the span of Jacob's life had come to 147 years, and when the time approached for Israel to die, he summoned his son Joseph and said to him, "Do me this one favor. Place your hand under my thigh as a pledge of your steadfast loyalty. Please do not bury me in Egypt. When I lie down with my fathers, take me from Egypt and bury me in their burial place." He replied, "I will do as you have spoken." And he said, "Swear to me." And he swore to him. Then Israel bowed at the head of the bed. Long one. But let's look at some of the most important things that we need to do. Remember, Joseph saw all this coming. He saw that there were going to be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. So Pharaoh's also really thrilled to have him around. Joseph manages to get all the money in Egypt. He manages to get all the livestock in Egypt. He manages to get all the land, and people are selling themselves into serfdom. Sounds fantastic if you're the Pharaoh, doesn't it? This is the kind of guy that you want around. I mean, he's just, yeah, okay, here's your credit plan, and in the end is going to be, I'm going to give you seed, you're going to plant the land, and when you're done finished, you're going to bring 1/5 of the harvest back. He's already seen the end of the famine. He's saying, okay, we're ready to restart. That's how well that he has everything planned out, or at least the administration that he has put together. We see this curious exchange between Jacob and Pharaoh. And there's an interesting word that we have to pay attention. They say they are sojourning. I am sojourning in the land of Egypt. They always say that because they're not staying there. And that would be attractive to Pharaoh. Hey, these guys are going to be gone at some point. Pharaoh says, you're welcome to be here anywhere you want because your brother here is fantastic. Says the brother, by the way, you got any more like you out there? Because if so, help me out with my stuff. Just like anybody else, you find a lucky coin, you keep that thing with you. You find a lucky friend, you keep that friend forever. But when Jacob says, the years of my sojourn on earth are 130, he is specifically using that word, sojourn. He knows it's temporary. Now, there isn't really an established mythology in the Jewish and Hebrew mind about the afterlife. It exists, but it's really ill-defined. Sheol is just kind of, it's not hell, it's kind of nothingness. And we see here that Jacob is very aware that there is something else that he is going to be involved in his existence. He's sojourning on the planet. And unfortunately, at the end of the chapter, his life comes to an end. We get into this ritual. Abraham did this, was it to his servant or to Isaac? I forget. If you have to go back and replay it. But put your hand upon my thigh. Now, I want you to run this over in your head for a little bit, the physics of this operation. And yeah, they're swearing by their fertility. I'm cleaning it up in case some under 18s are listening to this. Not that I particularly mind, but the same token, YouTube has its algorithm. This seems to be something very old-fashioned that they would do. Now, it's not considered in any way disrespectful. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most solemn promises that you can make to another human being. But you've got this patriarchal system in place where only men can exchange this vow. And it's that family bond, and yeah, it's really, really sacred. I don't like to think about it too much, just because it doesn't happen really that much from here on in. You get a couple instances, and it seems to fall out of practice. But here we are. We've unfortunately seen Jacob breathe his last, but we haven't seen the last of Jacob. Don't want to spoil Exodus for you, but Jacob is eventually buried in the burial place of his forefathers. In other words, the cave of Machpelah. We'll go through that in time. Well, lots of things to think about. Let's go into chapter 48. It's a nice, easy, well, not easy one, but yeah, here we go. Sometime afterwards, Joseph was told, "Your father is ill." So he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. When Jacob was told, "Your son Joseph has come to see you," Israel summoned his strength and sat up in bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, "El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and he blessed me. And he said to me, I will make you fertile and numerous, making of you a community of peoples. And I will assign this land to your offspring to come for an everlasting possession. Now, your 2 sons, whom were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, shall be mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine no less than Reuben and Simeon. But progeny born to you after them shall be yours, and they shall be recorded instead of their brothers in their inheritance. I do this because when I was returning from Padan, Rachel died to my sorrow, while I was journeying in the land of Canaan, when still some distance short of Ephrath, and I buried her there on the road to Ephrath, now Bethlehem. Noticing Joseph's sons, Israel asked, Who are these? And Joseph said to his father, They are my sons, whom God has given me here. Bring them up to me, he said, that I may bless them. Now Israel's eyes were dim at his age, he could not see. So Joseph brought them close to him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, I never expected to see you again, and here God has let me see your children as well. Joseph then removed them from his knees and bowed low with his face to the ground. Joseph took the 2 of them, Ephraim with his right hand to Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left hand to Israel's right, and brought them close to him. But Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, although he was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, thus crossing his hands, though Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph, saying, The God in whose ways my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd from my birth to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all harm, bless the lads, and them may my name be recalled, and the names of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, may they be teeming multitudes upon the earth. When Joseph saw that his father was placing his right hand on Ephraim's head, he thought it wrong. So he took hold of his father's head to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh. Not so, father, Joseph said to his father, for the other is the firstborn. Place your right hand on his head. But his father objected, saying, I know, my son, I know. He too shall become a people, and he too shall be great. Yet his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his offspring shall be plentiful through the nations. So he blessed them that day, saying, By you shall Israel invoke blessings, saying, God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, I am about to die, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. And now I assign you 1 more portion than to your brothers, which I wrested from the Amorites with my sword and bow. Jacob is still in the process of preparing for his death, but remember, he stole his inheritance from his brother. When he was messing about with Esau, he took his birthright, he took his blessing, etc., and he's doing the exact same thing here to what will eventually become the half-tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. I guess he just couldn't let it go. He was always trying to buck the system. So with his favored son, he was trying to make the same thing happen. But he says, don't worry, they're both going to become great. It's just we're going to go with the younger one a little more. It's very strange. Like, imagine yourself in that situation. Just physically, you can't see very well. These 2 children are brought before you. You know nothing of them. And still, you cross your hands over to give them both a different blessing. It's not a very comfortable place to be doing anything. Anyways, Jacob / Israel is getting weaker by the moment, and basically we're going to go through the rest of his passing in the next couple stories, and yeah, exit to Exodus. So here's looking forward to that. No matter what, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to buy the merch, which are the books down in the description, and we hope you have a fantastic day.